If you've applied to dozens, maybe even hundreds of different jobs and have not gotten anywhere or gotten automatically rejected from all of them, chances are you are making one, if not multiple, of these top five resume writing mistakes that I see candidates make every single day. And the very last one is one that pretty much every single candidate that I have seen has made. Even the ones who think they're doing it right, they're probably still not being very effective with this last one that so many candidates mess up. So today we're going to talk about these five mistakes and what you can do to make sure you're not falling victim to those mistakes and writing resumes that actually get you job interviews, which will then hopefully land to you landing a job of your dream as well. So let me quickly introduce myself first. My name is Colin Whittington. I am the CEO and founder of Recruiting Heroes LLC. We are a national employment and recruiting agency, and we've worked with some of the world's biggest companies, including L3 Harris, Wegmans, Allied Universal, and many more. So trust me when I tell you, I have seen thousands and thousands of resumes, and I have worked with these big companies and seen what they value in a resume and which ones make it to the interview and which ones are automatically rejected by the recruiter or by the applicant tracking system as well. I am also a professional resume writer myself. So I have written hundreds and hundreds of resumes, and I know the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to resume writing. So today we're going to cover the top five. And again, the very last one is the most common one and the one that's costing you job interviews 100%. It's probably the biggest reason why candidates are not getting interviews after dozens or hundreds of applications. So let's dive right in with number one, and that's using a poorly designed, unprofessional layout or template. Listen, y'all, there are templates out there that you can get for completely for free. One of them I'm going to give you right now. It's under my Heroes Job Search Guide. I'm going to put the link down below, but you can also get it at recruitingheroesllc.com. It's my professional resume template, as well as instructions on how to write a fantastic resume, update your LinkedIn, and a number of other things as well. So check it out. But needless to say, there are numerous free templates out there that you should be using. Don't try to create one yourself. Don't go pay for one. It's ridiculous. But make sure it's a professional template that really highlights who you are, is organized in a way that a recruiter can quickly read it, because on average, recruiters are only spending about 7.4 seconds looking at the resumes that they receive, if they look at it at all. So you only have a handful of seconds to make that first impression. And another critical part about this mistake is that candidates are using things like Canva or other platforms to create these beautiful resumes that look like visually very nice, but they're not actually readable by the ATS system, which actually scans these resumes. So if you aren't using a Word document or a PDF, if you're using a JPEG or something else, chances are your resume can't be scanned by these systems, and you're just going to score 0% on the comparison scan between the job description and your resume, which means you will not get an interview invite. So make sure you're using a template that is ATS friendly, but also well organized, that can really truly shine. Your experience can truly shine. All right, number two is an excessively long resume. Again, I have received thousands of resumes, and the longest one I've ever received was 28 pages long. 28 pages long. Absolutely insane. No more, all right? The old standard of one-page resumes luckily has gone by the wayside. Now the new standard is two-page resumes. There used to be an exception for federal resumes, the ones that you submitted on USA Jobs, but starting the end of September of 2025, that is no longer going to be acceptable as well. They're only going to be accepting two-page resumes, which means the two-page resume is now the standard for the private sector as well as for federal jobs. So if you don't have a two-page resume, you really need to get your resume tightened up. And that's going to lead me to my third mistake that I'm seeing all the time, is candidates going way too far back in their work experience that they're trying to highlight on their resume. Right? A lot of the candidates I work with have 20, 30, 40 years of experience, and they're trying to highlight every single role, from their current role as the deputy chief of a major police department all the way back to their teller job at a bank or working at McDonald's. Don't do that. Recruiters and hiring managers really only care about the work that you've done in the last 10 to 15 years or so. So I want you to focus on the roles that you've had in the last decade, decade and a half. The reason why this is important, if you go further back and you start highlighting roles you had 25 years ago, first of all, nobody cares. I'm sorry, but no one cares. Second of all, if you want to keep it to that two-page maximum for a resume and you're focusing on a job you did in the 90s, That means you're gonna have less space to focus on the roles that you currently have or have recently held, and make those sections shorter, which makes them less impressive, and you're just going to do yourself a major disservice. So here's what you do on the work experience section. Start with your current or most recent job first. For some odd reason, so many candidates I see start with their very first job ever and go forward from there. So their very current or most recent role is way down at the bottom of the second page. Again, recruiters are only spending about 7.4 seconds looking at resumes. So if your most impressive or most current job is hidden away down the bottom, they are never going to see it. All right. So start with your current or most recent job first, and then focus on the most the last 10, 15 years, like I said. All right. So what we're going to do is focus on those roles, and any role you have previously before that, you can still highlight, but what you're going to do is create an additional positions section on your resume where you can simply list out the roles you've had earlier than that. All right. So you can still highlight them. You can still get credit for them if you want, but you're not going to details in every single role. So there should be no bullet points for them. Again, I will also say that if you have had roles 40 years ago, right, roles that don't matter, have nothing to do with the roles you're going after, leave them off your resume entirely. Again, if you worked at McDonald's 35 years ago, nobody cares. The only thing that's going to do, unfortunately, is going to introduce ageism into the hiring process. If someone sees that you had a job 45 years ago, they're going to be able to pretty much guess or at least assume how old you are, which unfortunately could hurt you. Even though ageism is illegal, it is absolutely still a thing in the private sector. And you want to do as much as you can to minimize it, at least early on in the process. So focus on the roles you've had in the last 10 or 15 years. Anything older you can list out, but roles beyond 30 years, even 25 years, I would leave off your resume completely. That way you can really let your most current or recent roles shine. All right. The fourth mistake I'm seeing candidates make is being far too generic and far too general with their resumes. And their resumes come across as generic job descriptions where they're only listing job duties that they held, right? Again, I work with a lot of police officers. A lot of them on their resumes, they say that they responded to emergency calls for service. All right, that's great. I really appreciate your service, but that's the same for every single cop in America, which is about 800,000 or so. What separates you? So instead of just doing job descriptions, focus on actual achievements and accomplishments using data or metrics. One of the biggest mistakes candidates are making is being too generic with their resumes. I receive so many resumes that have absolutely no data or numbers on them other than the candidate's phone number. That's not enough. You need to be analyzing your achievements and highlighting them with data or metrics. Again, let's go back to that example I used with police officers saying they respond to emergency calls for service. You can still keep that on there, but instead of just saying something like that, say, I responded to emergency calls for service in a two square mile radius serving about 25,000 people with approximately 35 calls per shift. Again, something as simple as that sounds so much more impressive and so much better than just saying you responded to emergency calls for service. So it's going to take some work. You're going to have to go back into your work history and figure out what did you achieve, what accomplishments did happen in your professional life. But that investment is going to pay off in the long run because employers want to see people that create results, not just ones that show up and do the job. So it's going to be your job to highlight why you are the best fit for that specific job. And that last statement there leads me to the fifth and final and the biggest mistake candidates are making on their resumes, and that is not tailoring their resume towards the job that they are applying for. You've probably heard it before, but it's so critically important. I can't say it enough. Not tailoring your resume is a sure way to not get further in the hiring process. Candidates think it's like this 90s and early 2000s where you create one resume and you can submit it to all the jobs you apply to. That's not going to work anymore. Companies now, are using applicant tracking systems. It's their way of organizing their hiring processes. It's their way of expediting the hiring process, keeping organized for the recruiters. And as resumes are coming in to their system, they're being automatically scanned by these systems and actually presenting the recruiter with a percentage score saying, hey, Colin here is a 75% match for this job. But if there are 15 other candidates ahead of me that are in the 80s or 90s, I'm not going to get an interview. I talked to an executive of a major law enforcement technology executive that works for one of the biggest companies in the law enforcement and public safety spaces. And he told me that they receive 2,000 to 3,000 or more applications for every role that they advertise. And it's gotten so freaking competitive that if someone's not scoring in the upper 90 percentile for a match towards a job, they're not going to make it to the interview. That's how competitive it is. So many candidates, even though they might think that they're tailoring their resume, all they're doing is maybe on the last sentence of their executive summary or their summary, they're saying something like, I would love to use my experience in X, Y, or Z to benefit company. And then they name drop that company and they think that's tailoring their resume. That's not enough. That's not even close to enough. You need to be going through these job descriptions, seeing what they are looking for, and then reflecting that exact language on your resume. I use this example all the time. If a company says that they're looking for someone who has experience mentoring new employees, but on your resume you say that you've coached rookie officers, even though that's the exact same skill, it's not going to compute in the ATS system and you're going to score lower. So you need to actually change your verbiage around to match that job description. If they're looking for someone with a certain skill set and you have it and it's not reflected on your resume, you need to include it. Some of the easiest places to do that, the executive summary. Absolutely fantastic place to change. It's one of the first things a recruiter sees, and it can really highlight the most important skills that they're looking for and reflect them on your resume. The next one, very, very easy place to change, is your skills or area of expertise section. These should be 9 to 12 skills that you have. All right. Let's say you have a skill listed on there. Let's say one of your skills is firearms instructor. Let's just say that's your skill. You apply for a role that has nothing to do with firearms, nothing to do with training, nothing to do with instructing. Take that skill off and replace it with a skill that is mentioned in the job description. So maybe that's project management, maybe that's leadership, maybe that's data analysis. Whatever it is, make sure you're spending the time going through your resume and making it a very strong fit for that specific job, because that's what matters nowadays. It's not about being a great general employee. You have to be the perfect fit for that job. That's what it takes to even land an interview these days. So when I see candidates telling me or see them on LinkedIn or other places saying that they've applied to 500 roles in the last month, that tells me they're going through the job section on LinkedIn and hitting easy apply and applying to 50 roles and within an hour and spending zero time actually tailoring or adjusting their resume. That's not going to cut it in this current job market. It's far too competitive. So if you are struggling with your resume, again, check out my free resource. It's called the Heroes Job Search Guide. This guide comes with my professional resume template, like I mentioned, instructions on writing a fantastic resume, LinkedIn optimization strategies, interview tips, and some more. It's an easily downloadable resource and it's quick to read through. It's a great guide. It's completely for free. So click the link down below or visit recruitingheroesllc.com to download your copy today. If you are a law enforcement professional looking to transition to the private sector, I urge you to look into my Heroes Academy. This is the only one of its kind. It's a transformational system and program where you can go through it at your own pace. You have lifetime access, and I teach you every bit of the hiring process and job search process. That way you know exactly what to do. So we will cover things like how to write a strong executive summary on your resume, how to optimize this section of your LinkedIn profile, how to network with recruiters, and so much more. It's a great resource, and I hope you check it out on recruitingheroesllc.com, or I'll add that link down below as well. But that's the Heroes Academy. All right, everybody. I really appreciate your time. I hope this video was instructional to you all. If there are things that you want me to cover in the future, put the comment down below. It really means a lot to me, and I can focus my information on the things that will actually benefit you. All right, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel. That means the world to me as well. It'll help me grow. It'll help me reach more candidates that can benefit from this information. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.